My father's name is Harley Sylvester Hinman. His occupation was brick mason and police officer. My mother's name is Doris Ulelzi Hinman, and she was a home mother, plus she worked as a cashier and cook and manager of a cafeteria and restaurant. The oldest of us four is my sister, Sandra Louise. Then there was my oldest brother, Harley Hinman, and he served in the Navy. And then the youngest one is Curtis Hinman, and he served in the Navy. Before I entered the service, I was going to school. And I entered the Navy. And I was in the Navy Reserves. I enlisted in the service. Right. The reason I chose the Navy was because I love water and I've been around lakes and streams all my life. And I figured, well, the Navy, I'd have a better choice of seeing the world. And I did training at Great Lakes in Chicago. And I just did my training there, and I also did time on a cruiser there, a destroyer escort, I should say. Not a cruiser, but a destroyer escort. And I was still going to school when I went through my boot camp for the Navy. Boot camp was kind of rough. I mean, it's just like any boot camp. They try to teach you discipline and teamwork. So it was a little rough. I mean, we did quite a bit. They just tested us to make sure we knew how to swim. We went through fire training for like a fire aboard ship. We went through gas mask training, you know, different training of situations that they thought that we might come upon, you know, during our service, where we might be in different locations. I remember my instructors, but they were rough. I mean, they believed in discipline, and they wanted everything precise. I mean, they were pretty rough. And since the training was during a certain time period, they wanted to make sure that you were, what should I say, capable of taking orders and that you would make it. Specialized training, I did. I took specialized training in shift service and storekeeper. I took training and I did both. I did mostly storekeeping, and I ran, when I was in the service in full time, I ran the ship store and did buying and selling of foreign merchandise. When I got out of school in 1962, I graduated from Kettering, the first graduating class in Waterford Township. And when I went into active duty, I went to Philadelphia shipyards. There I waited for orders and where I would be, and it was gang barracks, and you had a lot of guys in the same barracks. And then I got my orders to go to the USS Springfield, CLG-7, a light guided missile cruiser in the Mediterranean. So to get there, I ended up in Norfolk, Virginia on a tender, the USS Shenandoah. And a tender is a ship that supplies all the ships in the fleet with food and ammunition, different things that they need. And so I took and was on the Shenandoah for a while, and then the Shenandoah, I ended up in Naples, Italy. And in Naples, Italy is where I caught the Springfield. And I spent over 2 years on the Springfield, and it was a flagship for the 6th Fleet. And our home port was Villafrance, right in the heart of the French Riviera. So when I was aboard ship, and since it was, the Admiral was aboard and it was a flagship, things were pretty strict. And everything had to be tip-top. I mean, everything was spit and polish. We had foreign dignitaries come aboard, kings and queens of some of the different countries, and prime ministers. And so I had a chance to, when we did go into port at different places, I had a chance to take and go on liberty for a day or so. And so I loved history. So I went to all different places and took pictures wherever I could. And I got all kinds. I got pictures of some Grace Kelly and Prince Rainier and Monaco. And I mean, there was a lot of traveling I did on the side, and then went back to the home port there in Villa. On the ship, there was nothing like a barracks. You were down below deck. You slept on bunks stacked 3 high. It was close quarters, so naturally everyone better keep themselves clean and everything else. And we went to the galley for food 3 times a day. Then we all had our general quarters stations where we had to go to in case of an attack or something, or if something was happening and we had to go to general quarters, we knew where to go. We had training, so we off and on, they'd call general quarters, and we had to go to different stations. And we at each station that we went to, you had a certain duty that you had to do. And you had training into doing that. And different stations that you were required to go to for general quarters. Now, like I was assigned to a 6-inch gun turret, and so I had to handle ammunition and everything else to put into the gun. And so someone else might go to different areas, you know. I mean, not everybody had the same area to go to. Okay, my first hitch was in the Navy fleet. And like I said, I've been aboard a destroyer escort. I've been on the tender, then I was on the light guided missile cruiser in my first hitch. And I've been to all countries around. I've been to Morocco, I've been to Gibraltar, I've been to Portugal, I've been to all over France, Italy, Greece, Turkey. I've been to the island of Malta and Rhodes. I've been to all different places in the Mediterranean. Then when I got out, and then I went into the Seabees, my second hitch in the service. Now there, I took military training at Camp Lejeune in Carolina. That was really strict, heavy training. We had to take guerrilla warfare, survival. We had to go through all kinds of training and discipline. I mean, we crawled underneath the wire while they shot over our heads with a .60 caliber machine gun. I mean, we did grenade, we did everything. I mean, it was very, very strict discipline training. I was in Malaysia and Vietnam. And then I was in the front lines of Vietnam. And in the Seabees, I was a heavy equipment operator. When we were in the States, I drove staff car for the commanding officer. When we were in country, I was right up at the DMZ, right in the middle of the fighting. Because I didn't want any favoritism when we hit overseas, and the commanding officer didn't think it would look good either if, you know, favoritism, because I was a staff driver. Well, when I was in Vietnam, some of the memories I have there is, well, they weren't pretty memories, but they weren't real bad all the time either. I was at a crusher site up at the DMZ, right across from McVie and Cam Lo, a village there. And I ran heavy equipment. I ran a 18-ton rock dump. About 7 or 8 miles, we'd go to where we got our rock out of the river. I remember us getting pinned down at the river. You can always remember the bullets whizzing by your ear, or when it hits your equipment that you're on, it just sounds like somebody took a big old sledgehammer and pounded on the side of your equipment. I can remember we took in over 31 mortar rounds within a minute's time, shrapnel and everything flying all around you. I can remember some of the civilians that we had in our compound. We were trying to teach them how to run some of the equipment, different things. And the village across from us, we tried to take and help them and give them food, the kids and stuff, and medical. We helped them. They always say the bad things that the military does, but they never tell the good things. I mean, we took care of the people. We gave them medical. We took and gave them food if we could. We gave them clothing if we could. Some of us guys would take and have home and have clothes sent. And they'd drop it off with the helicopter up there where we were, and we'd pass out, to the kids and different things, clothing. I can remember one time I got the biggest kick out of a buddy of mine and I. We sent home, and we had those stockings, web stockings filled with candy and a toy, like toy car and truck. So we had a bunch of them sent to us up there. So with Christmas, and we took those stockings and we went across into the village and passed them out at Christmas to the kids. And we had to teach them what to do with the car, I mean, it was comical, but I had a lot of fun. That was one of my best memories I ever did, is when we did that, and I played Santa to the kids there. So we did a lot of things for the Vietnamese people in different areas. I mean, we built them schools. We built them medical facilities. We trained a school. I mean, we did a lot that people don't realize, that... But then I was in the CBs, MCB 74, in a construction battalion. So we kept Route 1 going all the way across between Quang Tri right on through towards the rock pile. So where the convoys and military could keep a flow going across Vietnam. I can remember one time I was using the shovel loading the hamper to the rock crusher, and snipers went, and I can remember the bullets hitting the side of the shovel. I can remember another time we were told that they were going to hit the ammo dump in Quang Tri. So we had a convoy of trucks running back and forth to build up around the ammo dump. And I was the last truck in the convoy, and somehow between the truck in front of me and my truck, they planted a mine in the road. Minesweepers were behind me. They found the mine, but they don't know how I missed it. But then the good Lord was after me. The guardian angel was there, because there was a time where they forced me off coming down the mountain, and the Vietnamese were blocking the whole road walking towards me. They knew I wouldn't try to hit them, and they squeezed me over towards the shoulder. Well, they undermined the shoulder, and I flipped the truck, because when I hit that, it caved in the road, the truck. So, I mean, there was different times, but still, our average work day was about 17 hours a day, 7 days a week, rain or sun. I mean, we constantly was doing something. So it was rough. We lived in underground bunkers. You felt something crawl across you, you don't dare move because the rats. You get bit by a rat, how they get so many shots in the stomach, You had to make sure you emptied your boots out, because you didn't know if a scorpion or a black widow or something would crawl into them. So there's different things you had to look out for. But still, it all became daily. We ate a lot of K-rats. They were dropped to us. I'll never forget it, because a lot of the K-rats we ate was packed before World War I. I mean, some of that stuff was something else. And if we were lucky, we got supplies, and we got meat and different things that the cooks could cook in the mess hall. But a lot of times, sometimes we'd get dysentery, because some of the meat would be spoiled by the time it got to us. But so it's not what you call an easy life, and a lot of times you're lucky if you had the clothes on your back. So, but overall, I have no regrets. I'll do it again. I mean, I wore my country uniform from 8 years, 7 months, and 10 days. So I have no complaints whatsoever. I feel that you got to know where you've been to know where you are today, to know where to go tomorrow. And am I patriotic? Yes, I love my country. Like when I was in Vietnam, when we came home, you thought we were the enemy. I mean, people treated us like dirt. And I never want to see any military gal or guy go through what us Vietnam vets did when we came home. It's funny, and when you get home, you're geared. Till this day, I can sleep when it's noisy, but when it's quiet, I have a hard time. So I mean, it's GIs, the gals and guys, they sacrifice quite a bit. And when we come home, does Uncle Sam take care of us? No. They don't care. I mean, I'm total disabled vet, but I had to fight for 25 years to get help. No vet should have to fight to get help when they come back. No, I mean, it's sad the way the military takes care of the government takes care of our military personnel. I've seen wounded people, I've seen dead people. It's something that you don't want to remember. It's not a pretty picture. War is hell. It's not fun. It's not a pretty picture. You do it because you know you got to do it. And you do it for the loved ones that are back home because you don't want another war fought on our soils. You don't want to see the destruction on our own communities because of war being fought like they were overseas. That's some things that you just push and you try to forget. But the sad thing about it is you can't forget. There's times where you wake up in the middle of the night in a sweat and you swear you were right there at the front lines at the battlefield. You were swear you were trying to duck incoming rounds, the mortar rounds and shrapnel flying all around. Or the hear of the bullets whizzing by your ears, or the sound of them hitting the equipment you're trying to operate and do. It's something you try to forget, but Denise, you'll never forget it. I had a hard time getting help because I was told I was in the Navy. And they said, you're in the Navy, there's no way that the doctors say you'd be in the front lines or you were out on a ship or something in the Navy. And they used to irritate me more than anything at the VA hospital. And I'll tell the doctor, I says, I didn't run heavy equipment on the Whitecaps. I said, sure, it's a branch of the Navy. I said, so is the Marines, a branch of the Navy. But it don't mean that they're all out on ships playing and doing things on the water. I said, the Seabees were just like the Marines. We're out there in the front. We're building defense units. We're sleeping in holes and underground bunkers just like they do at their main compound. I says, you know, you're eating okay rats that was packed before World War I. I mean, you know, you're lucky if you get a hot shower, and you're lucky if you get a good food in the stomach. It's things that you try to forget, but you never will. And it's things you don't like to talk about. You don't like to talk about your friends getting hurt or shot up with shrapnel, or I mean, it's something that you try to put aside. I know how I fought my stress when I came home. It bothered me a lot, but I didn't get any help from the VA because people said, you're a Navy. But they don't realize what the Seabees go through. So I told the personnel there, just fly a kite. But that wasn't the words I used, but that's beside the point. Well, in the service, you always have good friends that you connect with. There's always somebody that thinks and feels the way you do, and you always can find someone to connect. a lot of times when you get out of the service and they're still in the service, you lose contact. I mean, a lot of my close friends that I got out, I never could pass a physical to get back in. But, and so you do get separated, because in a war zone, it's hard to get mail. And especially when you're on special detail like I was. And when you're on special detail, if you do get mail, it's a miracle, and it picks you up a little bit, you know. But for corresponding and being able to correspond regularly, you can't. When the war ended, I was working for General Motors Parts Division in Drayton Plains, Michigan. I do a lot of volunteer work, an awful lot of volunteer work. That's what keeps my mind off from things, because I couldn't work, but I volunteered and did things. And I got heavily involved in storytelling, and I go into the schools, I go into the parks, I go into the nursing homes, I go into adult daycare, and I'm busy trying to make people happy. We got two choices in life. One, we can feel sorry for ourselves and make ourselves miserable and everyone around us miserable. Or two, try to look at the positive things that's happening around you and try to be happy and try to make other people happy. And I take number two. I don't know what it's like to get up without hurting every day. I mean, I got so much metal and staples and different things in my body, but I push forward. And I keep myself busy and volunteering in different things. I'm involved in a lot of historical things and everything else. And I find by keeping my mind busy and doing a lot of volunteering, I'm too busy to think about other things. I came home by air. Then when I hit the main base, I was stationed in Gulfport, Mississippi with the Seabees, MCB 74. And as I said, I did a lot of training at Keesler Air Force Base in the swamps of Mississippi, plus the Marine Base in Carolina. I came home when I hit the base, I came home by car. I had my car there at the CB base. And we were deployed overseas. I stored my car there at the base. So I came home by car. Received by the public, not too good. Received by my parents and relations, very good. I mean, they all knew what we were going through, and I can't complain how my family has treated me. They knew I was a little mixed up when I came home, but they helped me go through it. So I can't complain. My family was backing me. Readjust is hard. I don't care. Readjustment's happening every day. That was just like a few months ago. I have a habit. I'm proud of my service and what I did. I had my CB hat on, and I couldn't believe it happened at this time of day and age. And some lady turned around and says, "Oh, you're one of those baby killers in Vietnam." I never killed a baby in my life. That lady doesn't know me. She doesn't know who I am, and she accused me because I'm a Vietnam veteran. She accused me of being a baby killer. Well, I got news for her. A lot of Vietnam veterans, if a child gets killed, it gets killed by accident, not by purpose. Sometimes, you know, it's not pretty when you might see a young girl or something coming at you and they pull a pin on a grenade to throw it at you. Are you going to let her take and throw that grenade at you? Or are you going to try to stop her and save the lives of your buddies around you that could cost their lives because of that grenade? Nah, war is nasty. It's not pretty. You do a lot of things. The GI's got to do a lot of things they're not proud of for survival. And people don't stop and realize, you know, They want to stay alive and keep fighting so to keep their freedom what we got here at home for us. I'm a lifetime member with the VFW. I'm a lifetime member with the Vietnam Veterans Association. I'm a member of the American Legion. And so I do see a lot of guys. And there's a lot of guys that wouldn't even tell you half of what I told you because they've gone through way worse than what I've ever gone through. I got Agent Orange. It's affecting me. And the older I get, the more things pop up from the cause of it. People don't stop and realize Agent Orange isn't something that shows up in your body and mind instantly. I was affected overseas in Nam. They used it all the time where I was. Everywhere where I worked and did, they used it. So it's a bad thing, and the effects will start hitting you. The older you get, more of it pops up. The lesson I'd like to leave with the generation to come, try to look at the positive things in life and make your goal in trying to go along and improve them. Don't think of the negative. There's always going to be something negative, but there's always something positive in its place. So when something bad happens, think of something positive that can come out of it for you. And just strive and keep putting one foot forward and think of the positives. No matter what religion, no matter what race, what color of skin they are, we're all brothers and sisters, and just do your best and accept each one from what and whom they are as a person. Not as a nationality, not a person from this country or that country, not because of their color of their skin, but they're a person, and accept them as a person.